Hey, I'm Ethan. Just a regular dude from Philly, you know? Born and raised in a rowhouse neighborhood where everybody knows your business, and the smell of cheesesteaks drifts through the air on game days. I'm not the type to hold grudges, or at least I didn't think I was. But sometimes life has a way of pushing you to a point where you gotta push back. Hard. I'm sitting here now, in my apartment, the city lights flickering through the window, and I'm finally ready to tell you my side of things. This ain't a story I'm proud of, not entirely, but it's mine. So grab a seat, maybe a coffee, and let me take you back to how it all went down. How my best friend, my roommate, took everything I cared about, and how I made damn sure he paid for it. It was about 3 years ago, right after I'd landed a decent gig as a graphic designer for a small marketing firm. Nothing glamorous, but it paid the rent on our 2-bedroom apartment in Fishtown with its creaky hardwood floors and walls that always smelled faintly of paint. I was 27, feeling like I was finally getting my life together. I'd been dating Mia for a year. She was this firecracker of a woman, all sharp wit and warm smiles, with dark hair that fell in waves and eyes that could make you forget your own name. We met at a dive bar during a trivia night, bonding over our mutual hatred for overpriced IPAs. She was a nurse, worked long shifts at Jefferson Hospital, but when we were together, it was like the world slowed down. We'd spend Sundays wandering the Italian market, her hand in mine, laughing over who could haggle better for fresh mozzarella. Then there was Connor, my roommate. We'd been tight since high school, back when we'd skip class to sneak into Phillies games or split a six-pack on the Schuylkill River banks. Connor was the charming one. Tall, blonde, always had a story to make you laugh till your sides hurt. He was bartending at this trendy spot downtown while chasing his big break as a sports journalist. Always talking about how he was this close to landing a gig with ESPN or some big outlet. I'd listen, nod, help him tweak his resume. Hell, I even designed his portfolio website for free. That's what you do for your boy, right? The three of us, Mia, Connor, and me, were a unit for a while. We'd throw game nights in the apartment, the living room lit by string lights, pizza boxes stacked on the coffee table, Mia's laugh echoing over Connor's bad karaoke. I thought we had it good. A little family, you know? But I should have seen the signs. The way Connor's eyes lingered on Mia when she wasn't looking. How she'd giggle a bit too long at his dumb jokes. I chalked it up to them getting along, but man, I was naive. It started unraveling one rainy Tuesday in October. I remember the sound of the rain tapping against the windows, the streetlights outside casting this moody glow across the apartment. I'd been working late on a client project, my eyes burning from staring at Photoshop too long. Mia was supposed to be on a night shift, so I figured I'd come home to Connor playing Xbox, maybe crack open a Yuengling and unwind. But when I pushed open the door, the apartment was too quiet. No TV blaring, no Connor shouting at his game. Just this soft murmur coming from his room. My stomach dropped before my brain even caught up. I set my bag down real slow like I was moving through molasses. The hallway felt longer than usual, the floorboards creaking under my sneakers. I pushed Connor's door open and there they were. Mia and him, tangled up on his bed, her scrubs half off, his hands where they had no business being. The room smelled like her lavender shampoo mixed with his cheap cologne, and the rain outside seemed to amplify every sound, every breath. "Ethan!" Mia gasped, scrambling to cover herself. Connor just froze, his face pale like he'd seen a ghost. I don't even remember what I said. Something like, "What the hell is this?" My voice sounded hollow like it wasn't mine. Mia started crying, stammering about how it just happened, how she was stressed, how Connor listened when I was too busy. Connor just sat there, not even looking at me, like a coward. I wanted to punch him, to tear the room apart, but I just turned and walked out. Stood in the living room, staring at the string lights we'd all hung together, feeling like the biggest idiot in Philly. Mia left that night, sobbing as she packed a bag. She kept saying she was sorry, but it didn't mean shit. Connor stayed, probably because he couldn't afford to move out. For a week, we lived like strangers, him avoiding me sleeping on the couch because I couldn't stand being in my own bedroom, knowing she'd been there too. The pain was like a knife, twisting every time I saw her toothbrush still in the bathroom or smelled her perfume lingering on the couch cushions. Then came the kicker. Mia didn't just leave, she moved in with Connor's sister across town. And Connor? He had the nerve to act like nothing happened, like he could just keep crashing on my couch, eating my food, living in my space. I'd come home to him typing furiously on his laptop, applying for his dream job at this sports media startup, the Philly Pulse. He'd talk about it nonstop, how it was his big shot, how he'd be on TV covering the Eagles. I'd nod, but inside I was burning. This guy betrayed me, took the love of my life, and thought he could just waltz into his perfect future? That's when the hurt started turning to anger. I'd lie awake at night, the city noise filtering through the window, car horns, distant sirens, thinking about how unfair it was. Mia was gone, fine, but Connor? He didn't get to win. Not like this. I started noticing things, how he'd leave his laptop open, how he'd talk about his job interviews like they were a done deal. The Philly Pulse was a big deal, sure, but they were picky. They wanted someone with a clean rep, no baggage. And Connor? He wasn't as squeaky clean as he thought. One night I was grabbing a beer from the fridge when I saw his laptop on the kitchen counter, open to his email. I know, snooping ain't cool. But I was past caring. There was a draft email to the Pulse's hiring manager, all polished and professional, with his portfolio link and a cover letter, kissing up to their mission. But what caught my eye was a folder on his desktop labeled Old Stuff. Curiosity got me, and I clicked. Found some blog posts he'd written years ago, edgy, controversial takes on athletes, full of hot-headed rants and borderline offensive jabs. Stuff he'd buried when he cleaned up his online presence. That's when the idea hit me. Not a fistfight, not a screaming match. Something better, smarter. If Connor wanted to play dirty, I'd play dirtier, but legal. I started digging. Checked his social media, found old tweets he hadn't deleted, ones that didn't exactly scream professional journalist. Racist? No, but dumb, hell yeah. Stuff like mocking a player's injury or trashing a team's fan base. I screenshotted everything, saved it to a USB drive, kept it quiet, didn't let on that I was building a case. The anger was fueling me now, but it wasn't blind rage. It was focused, like when I'm designing a logo and every pixel has to be perfect. I reached out to a buddy, Nate, who worked in media and knew someone at the Philly Pulse. Didn't tell him the whole story, just enough. Hey, you hear about Connor Reed applying for that sports gig? Might want to check his old posts. Dropped it casual, like I was just passing along gossip. Then I took it a step further. The Pulse had a tip line for their investigative team. Anonymous, of course. I sent an email from a burner account, attaching a few of Connor's worst posts. Thought you'd want to know about a candidate's background, I wrote. Didn't name him outright, but I included enough for them to connect the dots. Felt a little dirty, sure, but also like I was balancing the scales. A few days later, Connor came home, face like a storm cloud. Man, I don't get it, he muttered, tossing his keys on the counter. The kitchen light buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows. The Pulse interview went great, but now they're reconsidering. What the hell? I shrugged, playing dumb. Tough break, man. Inside, my heart was pounding, but I kept my face neutral. The anger was still there, but it was shifting, turning into something colder, more deliberate. I wasn't done yet. Connor was about to learn what happens when you stab your best friend in the back. I'm sitting here in my Philly apartment, the radiator hissing in the corner, the city outside humming with that late-night energy, cars honking, a distant siren cutting through the air. Telling you this story feels like peeling back a scab, but it's also kind of freeing, you know? Like I'm finally letting go of the weight I've been carrying. Last time, I left off at the point where Connor was starting to feel the heat, his dream job at the Philly Pulse slipping through his fingers. I'd set the wheels in motion, and man, it felt good to see him squirm. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Let me take you through how I sealed the deal and got my justice, all while keeping my hands clean. After that email to the Philly Pulse, things started moving fast. Connor was a mess, pacing the apartment, muttering about how he was screwed and how someone must have tipped them off. I'd catch him glaring at his laptop, refreshing his email like it'd magically fix everything. The kitchen light would flicker, casting his shadow on the wall, and I'd sip my coffee, pretending to scroll on my phone, but inside I was buzzing. The anger that had been eating me up was now a fire, controlled but burning hot. I wasn't just mad anymore. I was determined to make sure he didn't walk away from this unscathed. See, Connor wasn't just losing a job opportunity. That gig at the Philly Pulse was his golden ticket, his way out of bartending and into the big leagues. He'd bragged about it for months, how he'd be on TV rubbing elbows with sports anchors, maybe even getting a shot at ESPN someday. Losing it wasn't just a setback. It was a gut punch, and I knew exactly how to twist the knife a little deeper. I started thinking about what made Connor tick. He was all about image, always had been. Back in high school, he'd strut around like he was the king of the block, charming everyone with that $1,000,000 smile. Now he was trying to build that same persona online, curating his Twitter and LinkedIn to look like Mr. Professional. But those old blog posts and tweets I'd found, they were the real Connor. Arrogant, careless, the guy who thought he could say anything and get away with it. If the Philly Pulse saw more of that, they'd drop him like a hot potato. So I got to work. I didn't want to overplay my hand, so I kept it subtle. I created another burner email, call it my inner graphic designer, always tweaking for perfection, and sent a follow-up to the Pulse's tip line. This time I attached a few more screenshots. Connor's tweets from 2018, one calling a local sports commentator a washed-up hack, another joking about a player's DUI in a way that wasn't exactly HR-friendly. I wrote, "Just a concerned citizen. This guy's applying for your sports reporter role. Might want to dig deeper?" I didn't sign it, didn't need to. The evidence spoke for itself. Meanwhile, Connor was spiraling. He'd come home from his bartending shifts, eyes bloodshot, smelling like whiskey and regret. One night, he cornered me in the living room, the TV flickering with a muted Eagles game. The string lights we'd hung with Mia were still up, mocking me with every glow. "Ethan, man, you gotta level with me," he said, his voice low but shaky. "Did you hear anything? Like, about me? Someone's screwing me over." I leaned back on the couch, crossing my arms. "Nah, man. Why would I hear anything?" My heart was thumping, but I kept my face stone cold. "Sounds like you pissed someone off. You know how it is in this city, people talk." He stared at me like he was trying to read my soul. For a second, I thought he might call me out, but he just shook his head and stormed to his room. The door slammed, and I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Guilt crept in, just a flicker, but I pushed it down. This wasn't about me being petty. This was about justice. He'd taken Mia, my trust, my whole damn world. He didn't get to walk away with his dreams intact. A week later, the hammer dropped. I was at my desk, tweaking a logo for a client, the afternoon light streaming through the window, when Connor burst in, his phone clutched like a lifeline. "They pulled the offer," he said, his voice cracking. "The Philly Pulse said they went in a different direction. I'm done, man." I raised an eyebrow, playing it cool. "Damn, that's rough. What happened?" He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. "They found some old posts. Said my online presence didn't align with their values. I deleted that shit years ago. Someone dug it up," I shrugged, sipping my coffee. "Philly's a small town when it comes to gossip. Maybe you should have been more careful." He didn't say anything, just stared at the floor. For the first time, I saw him not as my old friend, but as the guy who'd stabbed me in the back. And yeah, seeing him like that, broken, defeated, it felt good. Not gonna lie, it was like a cold beer on a hot day, refreshing in a way I didn't expect. But I wasn't done. I wanted to make sure he felt the weight of what he'd done, not just to me, but to the life we'd built. So I took it one step further. The Philly Pulse had a public forum on their site, a place for community feedback. I posted there, anonymously of course, just a short comment. "Heard a candidate for your sports reporter role had some shady posts. Good call on passing." Didn't name Connor, but anyone who knew him could connect the dots. The post got some likes, a few replies like, "Dodged a bullet." And who was it? I didn't engage, just let it simmer. Word spreads fast in Philly, especially in media circles. Connor started getting paranoid. He'd check his phone constantly, muttering about haters and someone out to get me. He even asked me to move out, said the apartment was bad vibes. I laughed it off. "My name's on the lease, buddy. You want out? You pack." He didn't have the cash to break the lease, and I knew it. Checkmate. By now, the satisfaction was setting in, but it wasn't all sunshine. I'd see Mia's posts on Instagram, her and Connor at some rooftop bar trying to look happy. It stung, no doubt, but I was healing bit by bit. I started going out more, hitting up bars with Nate, redesigning my portfolio, even flirting with a barista at the coffee shop down the street. Life was moving on, and I was taking it back piece by piece. Then came the final blow. Nate called me one night, voice low like he was sharing a secret. We were at a dive bar, the jukebox playing Springsteen, the air thick with cigarette smoke from the patio. "Yo, Ethan," he said, leaning over his beer. Word is the Philly Pulse blacklisted Connor. Not just them, other outlets heard about his posts. He's toxic now. I took a long sip, letting that sink in. "Damn, that's rough," Nate smirked. "Rough? Guy's done in this town. Shouldn't have been a dumbass online." I didn't say anything, just nodded. Inside, I felt it. Closure. Connor wasn't just out of a job. His dream was dead. All those years of hustling, schmoozing, building his brand. Poof, gone. And me? I didn't have to lift a fist or break a law. Just used his own words against him. Let the truth do the work. Connor moved out a month later. Packed his stuff in a hurry, left the apartment half empty. I heard he went back to bartending. Took a gig in Jersey, far from the Philly media scene. Mia? She unfollowed me, but I heard through the grapevine they split. Guess stealing someone's girl doesn't guarantee a fairy tale. I'm still here in the same apartment. Got new furniture, painted over the walls Mia and I had picked out. The string lights are gone, replaced with a neon sign I found at a thrift shop. It's just me now, working on my designs, hitting up the Italian market on Sundays, living my life. The pain's still there, like a bruise you forget about until you press it. But I'm good. Better than good. I stood up for myself, played it smart, and came out on top. Looking back, I don't love how it went down. Digging through his stuff, dropping anonymous tips, it's not who I want to be. But Connor crossed a line, and I drew one back. Sometimes justice ain't pretty, but it's necessary. If you've ever been betrayed like that, you get it. You don't just roll over. You fight, you win, and you move on. So that's my story. A Philly kid, a broken heart, and a revenge that hit where it hurt most. Connor's out there pouring drinks, dreaming of what could have been. Me? I'm right here, building my life back, one pixel at a time.